Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and making every decision, not based on fear, not based on approval, but purely from your own conviction. What would your life look like if you stopped living it for other people? How much of your potential is buried under the weight of opinions that don't pay your bills, don't heal your heart, and don't walk your path? Let me be direct. Most people are not truly living. They're performing for people who won't even show up at their funeral. This speech will challenge everything you've accepted about approval, identity, and purpose. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll walk away with a mindset that makes you unstoppable. Because when you stop caring about others' opinions, you don't become reckless, you become free. From the moment we're born, society starts placing labels on us. What we should do, how we should behave, who we should become. Parents, teachers, peers, even strangers begin constructing a framework for how we're supposed to live. Slowly, without realizing it, many people start walking down paths they never chose. They go to schools they didn't want to attend. They pick careers they don't love. They stay in relationships that drain them, all because someone else thinks it's the right thing to do. But here's the truth. No one has to live with the consequences of your life decisions except you. The people whose approval you're chasing won't feel the regret you carry. They won't live with your boredom, your burnout, your unexpressed creativity, or your missed calling. You will. There is something tragic about watching a person live an entire life dictated by other people's expectations. It's like watching a lion live its whole life inside a cage, never realizing it was built to roam free. Approval is addictive, but it's also deceptive. It gives you temporary applause and lifelong chains. And the harsh reality is, no matter how much you try to please others, it will never be enough. Their expectations will keep shifting and your identity will keep crumbling. The world does not need another copy of someone else. It needs the real you. Not the edited, filtered, socially acceptable version that blends in, but the bold, authentic, purpose-driven you. The you that isn't afraid to say no. The you that dares to be misunderstood. The you that follows conviction over consensus. Living for approval is a silent death. Every day you conform to someone else's idea of who you should be, a piece of your soul erodes. But the moment you stop seeking permission to be yourself, a new world opens. A world of freedom, clarity, and alignment. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing your own path. You weren't sent here to be agreeable. You were sent here to be impactful. If you want to live a life that's truly yours, you must be willing to disappoint a few people, to be true to yourself. Because you are not obligated to live a life others approve of. You're called to live one that's worth dying for. People's opinions are projections, not prophecies. Most people don't actually see you. They see their own fears, limitations, and insecurities reflected back at them. When they say, "You can't do that," what they often mean is, "I don't believe I could do that." When they say, "That's too risky," they're revealing their own comfort with mediocrity, not commenting on your capability. Their opinions are rarely about your potential. They are mirrors of their own mindset. And when you internalize those opinions, you start living out someone else's version of reality, not your own truth. What's even more dangerous is that we often treat those opinions as absolute truth, as if someone else's comment is a final verdict on our future. But just because someone lacks vision doesn't mean your vision is invalid. Just because someone hasn't walked your path doesn't mean they can predict where it will lead. They are not prophets. They're not the author of your destiny. They're just people. People with limited understanding, often shaped by fear, failure, and disappointment. You cannot afford to hand your identity to people who haven't done the work to understand their own. If they haven't built what you're building, if they haven't dared what you're daring, their opinions carry no authority. Yet many people shrink their dreams to fit within the comfort zone of those around them. They lower their standards to avoid criticism. They play small so others won't feel threatened. But here's the cost. They never find out what they were truly capable of. When you recognize that opinions are just projections, they lose their power. Criticism becomes noise, not guidance. Doubt becomes data, not direction. You stop living in reaction to other people's narratives and start writing your own. You stop filtering your potential through their fears. You must reclaim the pen. Your future is not determined by someone else's imagination. It's determined by your courage. No one else has the authority to decide what you're capable of. Their opinion is not a prophecy, it's just a perspective. And you have the right and the responsibility to rise above it. So the next time someone doubts your dream, remind yourself, they're not speaking about you, they're speaking from within themselves. Freedom feels uncomfortable at first, but it's worth it. When you've spent most of your life trying to fit in, meet expectations, and avoid judgment, the idea of stepping out and living on your own terms can feel terrifying. You've been conditioned to believe that approval equals safety. So when you decide to stop caring what others think, it doesn't instantly feel like liberation. It often feels like isolation. The silence that follows your refusal to conform can be deafening. You'll second-guess yourself. You'll wonder if you're making a mistake. You'll feel the tension of not being understood, not being validated, not being applauded. That's the discomfort of breaking free. But discomfort is not a sign you're doing something wrong, it's a sign that you're growing. Growth is never comfortable. Think about it. No muscle is built without strain, no diamond is formed without pressure, and no real freedom is gained without first walking through fear. That tight, awkward space where everything feels unfamiliar, that's where transformation lives. That's where the fake layers peel away and the real you begins to emerge. What many don't realize is that living for others is also uncomfortable, just in a slower, more suffocating way. It's the kind of discomfort that numbs your spirit over time. You feel it in the quiet moments when you question your choices. You feel it when you smile on the outside but ache on the inside. That's the pain of a life unfulfilled, the pain of being accepted by everyone except yourself. Choosing freedom means choosing short-term discomfort in exchange for long-term peace. It means being willing to feel misunderstood now so that you can live authentically later. It means walking away from the need to be liked in order to be respected, especially by the person in the mirror. Eventually, the silence that once felt scary becomes sacred. The loneliness transforms into clarity. And the rejection you feared becomes a redirection to people and places that align with who you truly are. The road to freedom is not paved with comfort, it's paved with courage. And though the beginning feels uncertain, the destination is worth every uneasy step. Because nothing feels better, nothing feels lighter than finally living a life that belongs to you. Confidence is built in solitude, not through applause. True confidence doesn't come from people clapping for you. It doesn't come from likes, follows, compliments, or public praise. It comes from those quiet, private moments when you choose to keep going, even when no one sees, no one supports, and no one celebrates. Confidence is born in solitude. It's shaped when you show up for yourself over and over again, without needing the world to notice. When you rely on applause to feel confident, your strength is external. It's borrowed. It only lasts as long as the noise does. The moment people stop cheering, you start doubting. But real confidence is internal. It's something you carry even in silence. Even when you're doubted. Even when you're misunderstood. It's knowing who you are and what you stand for, even if the crowd walks away. Solitude tests your identity. When the crowd is gone, and it's just you and your thoughts, that's when you discover what you truly believe about yourself. Will you still pursue your goals when no one's watching? Will you still speak your truth when no one claps? Will you still move forward even if no one validates you? These are the moments that forge unshakable self-belief. Some of the most confident people you'll ever meet are not the loudest in the room. They're the most grounded. They don't seek the spotlight because they don't need it. They've done the hard work behind closed doors. They've faced their insecurities, they've failed, healed, learned, and grown quietly, and because of that, their confidence is real. It doesn't waver with opinion. It doesn't collapse under pressure. Confidence built in solitude gives you power. You're no longer controlled by praise or paralyzed by criticism. You're steady. You're anchored. And because your validation comes from within, you become unstoppable. You don't need permission to lead, speak, or act. You move from a place of conviction, not performance. So if you're in a season where you feel unseen, overlooked, or misunderstood, don't resent it. Use it. That solitude is not a punishment. It's preparation. This is where your confidence is being built. And when the world finally sees you, they won't just hear your voice, they'll feel your strength. Pleasing everyone is a losing game. No matter how hard you try, you will never satisfy everyone. You can give your best, speak gently, work tirelessly, and still face criticism. Some will misunderstand you, twist your words, question your intentions, or reject you entirely. That's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because people see the world through their own filters, their own wounds, and their own expectations. Trying to please everyone is like chasing a moving target. You'll wear yourself out and still fall short. When your worth depends on being liked by everyone, you become a shapeshifter. You water down your truth. You say yes when you mean no. You overextend yourself to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, or to protect your image. But over time, that kind of life becomes exhausting. Because deep down, you know you're betraying yourself. You're living for their comfort, not your calling. People-pleasing might bring temporary acceptance, but it demands a long-term sacrifice, your authenticity. Every time you shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you lose a piece of your identity. Every time you hold back your voice to avoid disapproval, you silence your purpose. You were not created to be everything to everyone. You were created to be something specific, something meaningful, and you can't fulfill that assignment if you're constantly adjusting yourself to gain approval. There's a deep freedom in realizing that it's okay to be disliked. It's okay to not be everyone's favorite. When you accept that rejection is part of the process, you stop fearing it. You stop bending to it. You start showing up as you are, unapologetically, consistently, powerfully. The people meant for you will find you, and they will value your truth, not your performance. Living with integrity requires courage. It means standing firm when it's easier to blend in. It means saying no when others expect yes. It means disappointing some in order to stay aligned with your purpose. That's not selfish. That's responsible. Trying to please everyone will drain your energy, distort your direction, and delay your destiny. So stop playing that game. It's unwinnable, and more importantly, it's unnecessary. The only person you need to be at peace with is the one you face in the mirror. Be true to that person, and let the rest fall where it may. Rejection is proof that you're becoming exceptional. It may not feel like it at first, but rejection is often the clearest sign that you're stepping into a higher level of purpose. When you start to rise, to speak differently, to live with clarity and intention, you will naturally disturb the comfort zones of others. People who once applauded you may grow quiet. Some will distance themselves. Some will criticize or misunderstand you. Not because you failed, but because you're no longer easy to categorize. You've stopped fitting into the mold that made them comfortable. Rejection hurts because we've been conditioned to believe it's a reflection of our value, but it's not. It's usually a reflection of your growth. Growth makes people uncomfortable, especially those who are unwilling to grow with you. When you break away from the familiar, you threaten the systems, relationships, and expectations that others have come to depend on. They reject you not because you're wrong, but because your evolution exposes their stagnation. Every person who's ever done something meaningful has faced rejection. Visionaries are always misunderstood in the beginning. Leaders are often doubted before they're respected. The more original your path, the more resistance you will encounter. That resistance is not a stop sign. It's a confirmation that you're moving beyond average. You are no longer living for the crowd. You're moving toward your calling. And that transition always comes with discomfort. Rejection filters your environment. It removes people who only supported the version of you that was convenient. It clears space for those who are aligned with your mission, not just your past. Sometimes rejection is the universe's way of pruning your life so that what remains can grow stronger. You must stop seeing rejection as a wall and start seeing it as a doorway. It's a necessary part of the path to significance. Not everyone will get you, support you, or celebrate you, and that's okay. Your job is not to be understood by everyone. Your job is to be faithful to your purpose. So the next time you're rejected, don't collapse. Stand taller. That closed door might be the greatest favor life ever did for you. Because rejection doesn't mean you're not enough. It often means you're becoming too much for the places you've outgrown. Internal peace matters more than external approval. We spend so much of our lives trying to win the approval of others, chasing validation, adjusting who we are, performing for acceptance. But even when you succeed in gaining that approval, something often still feels off. That quiet voice inside you doesn't go away. The one that says, "This isn't who I really am." That voice is your soul reminding you that peace doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. When your choices are based on pleasing people instead of staying true to yourself, you may gain admiration, but you lose authenticity. And that trade-off never leads to fulfillment. External approval can feel good for a moment, but it's fleeting. It fades the second opinions change or people walk away. Internal peace, on the other hand, is lasting. It's the calm that comes from knowing you're living in truth, even if no one sees it, understands it, or applauds it. You cannot build a meaningful life while constantly seeking to satisfy everyone else's expectations. It will leave you scattered, exhausted, and disconnected from yourself. At some point, you have to decide which voice matters most, the world's or your own. You have to decide whether you'd rather be accepted for who you're not or at peace with who you are, because you can't have both. The truth is, peace isn't always loud. It won't always come with praise or validation. Sometimes it's quiet, almost invisible. But you'll feel it in your body, in your decisions, in your sleep at night. You'll feel it when you say no to something that goes against your values. You'll feel it when you speak up for yourself, even if your voice shakes. You'll feel it when you walk away from what looks good on the outside, but doesn't sit right on the inside. External approval may give you moments of acceptance, but internal peace gives you a life of integrity. And integrity is what builds legacy. Don't sacrifice your inner calm to meet outer expectations. You'll never regret choosing yourself. You'll never regret making peace your priority. At the end of the day, the world's opinion will always shift. But the peace you build from within, that's what will carry you quietly, powerfully, and permanently. You were not born to blend in. From the beginning, everything about you, your personality, your voice, your thoughts, your potential, was created to stand out. But somewhere along the way, life starts teaching you to shrink, to lower your voice so others feel louder, to hide your uniqueness so you don't make waves, to follow the crowd so you won't risk being alone. And before long, you start believing that blending in is safer than being seen. But the truth is, you weren't born to be invisible. You were born to be impactful. Blending in might make life more comfortable, but it will never make it meaningful. The people who change things, who inspire others, who create legacies, they're the ones who had the courage to be different. They weren't the loudest. They weren't always the most talented, but they were the most authentic. They embraced their uniqueness, even when it made others uncomfortable. They spoke the truth, even when it wasn't popular. They followed a calling, even when it meant walking alone. You can't influence the world by being a copy of it. You can't fulfill a unique purpose while living a life of imitation. The gifts you carry, the vision you have, the fire inside of you, none of that was designed to be hidden. And yes, standing out comes with challenges. You will be judged. You will be misunderstood. You will face resistance. But none of that compares to the cost of living a life that doesn't belong to you. When you try to blend in, you dilute your impact. You settle for fitting in instead of fulfilling your calling. You live by someone else's script instead of writing your own. But the moment you stop apologizing for who you are, everything changes. The right doors begin to open, the right people begin to notice, and more importantly, you begin to feel alive. Not just existing, but truly living. You were not born to live a quiet life of silent potential. You were born to lead, to create, to shine. So stop hiding your light to make others comfortable. You owe it to the world and to yourself to rise fully, boldly and unapologetically, because the world doesn't need another imitation. It needs the real, unfiltered, undeniable you. You only get one life, and every second you spend trying to please others is a second lost from fulfilling your own purpose. Stop waiting, stop explaining, stop apologizing for your truth. Walk your path boldly, because the moment you stop caring about what they think is the moment you finally start becoming who you're meant to be. You're not obligated to live a life others approve of.